So the big difference between आज का crisis and पुराने crisis is the speed of information is frightening. Right?
True.
So for a new investor, the biggest problem is यार ये चालू कब करूं? For example, in Bangalore, that Shell has already raised diesel prices by some $25 a liter, right? And they don't get any. I mean, unlike the public sector oil companies, to my mind, that's a real reflection of what the price will be over a period of time.
Very soon, yeah.
But will it kill us? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll make you feel a little poor. अगर आप जो चीज कर रहे हो जहाँ 12 बजे उठे हुए हो and you're looking at some screen and you're looking at Dow Jones and you're looking at some tweet, then I think you have a big problem.
Big problem. Yeah, that I agree.
Unless you're a professional investor, in which case that's your job.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that आपने select किया वो job.
Exactly. हाँ.
इतने आदमी नहीं है, फैक्ट्री बंद हो जाएंगे, earnings ही नहीं होने वाला है, तो आपका E नहीं है तो P क्या होने वाला है? You know, very logical way of putting it out. But ultimately, you have to understand that you are investing in India. It's a country.
Yeah.
हमारे पास वो पुराने advantages है. We are very digitized. We have the youngest population. We have reasonably good GDP growth. We have a stable government.
अगर कल सुबह मार्केट साइकिल चेंज हो जाए तो क्या आपका पोर्टफोलियो उसके लिए रेडी है या आप सिर्फ होप के बेसिस पे इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं? इफ नॉट तो ये कॉन्वर्सेशन आपके लिए बहुत ज्यादा यूजफुल होने वाली है। हेलो फ्रेंड्स, मेरा नाम नम्रता अरोरा है। वेलकम बैक टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड की बात। म्यूचुअल फंड की बात में हम ग्लोबल और इंडियन इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन, कमोडिटी, स्टॉक मार्केट, म्यूचुअल फंड्स, इन सब के बारे में बात करते हैं। आज के हमारे इस एपिसोड में वी हैव समवन वेरी रिनाउंड फ्रॉम द म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री। आज हमारे साथ है मिस्टर राघव अयंगर। मिस्टर राघव इज द CEO ऑफ 361 AMC। उनके पास फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज सेक्टर में 30+ इयर्स का काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग एक्सपीरियंस है। 361 असेट में मिस्टर राघव कंपनी के असेट मैनेजमेंट बिजनेस की स्ट्रेटेजिक डायरेक्शन और ग्रोथ को ड्राइव करते हैं। साथ ही इन्वेस्टमेंट टीम्स के साथ क्लोजली काम करके कंपनी की ओवरऑल मार्केट प्रेजेंस को और स्ट्रॉन्ग बनाते हैं। वो पूरी बिजनेस स्ट्रैटेजी को लीड करते हैं, जैसे प्रोडक्ट स्वीट का डिजाइन, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्ट्रैटेजीज बनाना, डिफरेंट मार्केट्स के लिए इंटरनेशनल टीम्स को लेवरेज करना और इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर्स के साथ डिस्कशंस लीड करना। इसके अलावा वो रिस्क मैनेजमेंट, कंप्लायंस और रेगुलेटरी मैटर्स में भी एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं। 361 असेट ज्वाइन करने से पहले मिस्टर राघव एक्सेस असेट मैनेजमेंट में प्रेसिडेंट और चीफ बिजनेस ऑफिसर थे। वहां उन्होंने रिटेल और इंस्टीट्यूशनल सेल्स, मार्केटिंग, डिजिटल, बिजनेस इंटेलिजेंस, पब्लिक रिलेशंस और इन्वेस्टर सर्विसेज को लीड किया है। उनका एक्सपीरियंस ICICI प्रू असेट मैनेजमेंट और टाटा असेट मैनेजमेंट जैसे बड़े ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ भी रहा है। Hello everyone, welcome back to Mutual Fund की बात। Thank you so much again for joining us this week. And अभी हम सबको पता है कि बहुत कुछ चल रहा है दुनिया में and हम सब काफ़ी स्ट्रेस्ड हैं इस सब को लेके। तो आज हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर राघव अयंगर, हु इज़ द CEO at 361 AMC। एंड आज हम उनके साथ ये डिस्कस करने वाले हैं कि जब अलग अलग मार्केट साइकिल्स होती हैं तो एज एन इन्वेस्टर हमें क्या करना चाहिए। सो राघव, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस टुडे एंड वेलकम टू म्यूचुअल फंड।
थैंक यू नम्रता। हाय एंड गुड टू सी यू एंड व्हाट अ डे यू पिक्ड एज यूजुअल।
सॉरी अबाउट दैट।
आपके इंटरव्यूज आर एब्सोल्युटली टाइमिंग वाइज इज एब्सोल्युटली सुपर, यू नो। सो
थैंक यू so much.
In normally I have a saying, right, the time in the market is important, Namrata. Timing is not important, but आपके interviews में timing is very important. And I very important, yes.
Okay, good. मैं आपसे इसके बारे में बहुत सारे सवाल पूछने वाली हूँ because I do believe कि इस समय में शायद timing is going to make all the difference. But yes, anyways, let's start with some interesting questions that we have lined up. और ये जो सारे सवाल हैं ये हमने हमारे व्यूअर्स से भी पूछे हैं कि उनको क्या जानना है about what's happening, and this is based on our conversations with our viewers as well. Okay. So सबसे पहली चीज़ जो हमने देखी है राघव जी वो ये है कि सबसे ज़्यादा जो वेल्थ एक्चुअल में क्रिएट की जाती है वो तब होती है जब बहुत ज़्यादा पेसिमिज्म होता है दुनिया में, राइट, विच आई थिंक इज़ द टाइम विच इज़ राइट नाउ। क्योंकि जब ऑप्टिमिज्म होता है तो शायद पूरी दुनिया एक दिशा में इन्वेस्ट करती है या बट व्हेन इट्स पेसिमिस्टिक टाइम्स तब जो सही तरीके से इन्वेस्ट कर लेते हैं वो वेल्थ क्रिएट कर लेते हैं। सो व्हाट इज़ योर ओपिनियन ऑन दिस एंड बताइए क्यों?
The first question is as usual, Namrata, fantastic first ball. आजकल IPL season चल रहा है, so I think your first ball was a fabulous ball. It was a yorker.
Thank you.
But yes, I completely agree with you. And it's very simple. क्यों होता है ये? क्योंकि जब optimism होता है तो बहुत सारे पैसे आ जाते हैं मार्केट में.
Yeah.
Stocks तो इतने ही है इन्वेस्ट करने में, right? So when too many people are chasing stocks, then what happens? Automatically demand supply का तो सब समझते हैं. It's like let's say you go to the market and there's just one box of mangoes available आजकल, right? In Bombay, there's a very serious shortage of Alfonso mangoes. क्योंकि unseasonal rain हुआ है, तो crop is not come as much as it should come.
Right.
Hopefully, in the next 1 month, it will get better. But अभी आप चले जाओ, you will find 20 people in the market trying to buy a box of mangoes.
जी.
तो फिर वो ridiculous price में आ जाते हैं. मतलब जो आप 1000 रुपए की सामान खरीदने जाओगे, that will suddenly people are willing to pay something because they've come to buy.
Yeah.
And that is what happens when markets are very, very optimistic. Too many people are flooding the market. Pessimism में बिल्कुल reverse situation होता है. You have maybe 20 people trying to sell mangoes in the market, but 2 लोग आ जाते हैं खरीदने के लिए. So then it's literally a sale.
True.
So somebody who was wanting to sell it for 1,000 rupees because he has no choice, he has to sell it at say 500 rupees.
Right.
Now just put this in a equity market context, वही हो रहा है आज के ज़माने में. So if you see between now and 6 महीने पहले या 6 हफ्ते पहले क्या change हुआ है? Obviously there is a very, very serious war being fought, and there's a lot. The big difference, and in my life, I've spent over 30 years now in capital markets numbers.
Right.
So I've seen it from 1991 onwards, 1991, 1997, 2000, 2004, 2011, 2008, 2012. 2020.
Yes,
right? These are some very big. So I know it sounds, I'm sounding very ancient. And एक चीज I always, which is a common thread across all these events, is when I think of these events 2 years after they have passed, my biggest regret is यार थोड़े और पैसे डालने चाहिए थे.
Yeah.
And in the initial first 2-3 crises, पैसे निकालना नहीं चाहिए था. So initially when something like this used to happen, as a new investor, I was also very frightened.
Yeah.
Suddenly you see your life savings zeroed by 30-40%. आपको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्या हो रहा है. You open the newspaper, you open any medium today, the only thing you read is negativity, right? And at that time, then there is a human instinct, right? जो बोलती है क्या survival instinct आ जाता है.
Yeah.
जितने भी पैसे हैं चलो उसको निकाल देते हैं. Let's not take any more losses. And the only thing I can tell you is that is possibly the worst thing to do as an investor. Right?
Okay.
It's exactly the opposite of say what happened maybe when markets were booming.
Right.
When in the same channel, in the same show, Namrata, I have said that one needs to be cautious, one needs to be careful, maybe and look at their equity asset allocation, etc., etc.
Yeah.
These are all polite ways of telling you that देखो sir ये थोड़ा dangerous territory पे आ रहे हैं. On the other side, now it's exactly on the reverse side. So the only thread I have is that I wish I had more money to invest, and I wish I had invested more of that money.
Okay.
And it's a common thread. So I can only tell you this from experience, and I hope I'm right, because I've experienced it 8 बार मेरी जिंदगी में doesn't mean automatically 9वें बार also it will work.
Yeah.
Is that all things will pass, and 1 year later this situation will look very, very different.
Yeah. So Raghav ji, आपने
and at that time as an investor you should be saying that hey, I did what I could and I at least stayed invested. That's very important.
I think जिसको investing समझ में आती है, जिसको at least जैसे आपने इतनी सारी market cycles देखी हैं, you said almost 8 market cycles if I'm not wrong. And for people who understand कि market cycles होती हैं, right? That's why we call them cycles, क्योंकि वो ऊपर भी जाती हैं, नीचे भी आती हैं. और अगर आप उसको opportunity का फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं, then that's great, because these are opportunity times. So राघव जी, आप हमें ये बताइए कि जो आपने 8 cycles देखी हैं, and so much learning from each of these cycles, right? So tell us कि एक investor का investment strategy at a time like this क्या होना चाहिए? Like हमें aggressive होना चाहिए as an investor, या फिर हमें थोड़ा laid back होना चाहिए? What categories of funds I could consider at a time like this? So let's say कि कोई अभी अपना investments इस साल, let's say someone has just started working, okay, और war चल रही है, markets are down, very volatile. तो आप उस investor के लिए आप क्या बोलेंगे कि वो कैसे अपना investments शुरू करे at a time like this?
I think I think I will put it as the 3S formula.
Okay.
I call it the 3S formula. First, the most important thing, Namrata, is please आप चालू कीजिए, start.
Right.
That's
the
very
1S,
important.
yeah.
Because आजकल the big difference between this crisis and previous crisis is your access to immediate information.
Okay. That's true.
So it is like yesterday evening, 9:30 in the night, President Trump tweeted something.
Yeah.
And put it on Truth Social. By 9:35, I had got that tweet in my phone.
Right.
And by 9:45, I had got already some 4 people saying ये होने वाला है, वो होने वाला है. By 9:55, expert commentary had started coming in. By 10:15, all the news channels had it and were making all kinds of narratives around it. So the
Right.
big difference between aaj ka crisis and purane crisis is the speed of information is frightening, right?
True, true.
So for a new investor, the biggest problem is, yaar, ye chalu kab karu? Because
Yeah.
the confidence is not there. Every time
True.
you push that app, you come on to say the Groww app and you say, I want to start investing, and you're just about to press that button, and you will get some crazy news which will
Yeah.
say, "Arey, abhi ruk ja."
अभी रुक
थोड़ा
जाओ,
time."
हाँ.
And when markets are falling, you feel very nice about it, because
True.
let's say if you had invested 10 days back and invested today, you would have seen, "Arey, I saved so much money. I saved so much money," and
Correct.
that's not the way to do it. So my
Correct.
belief is, first you start.
Okay.
In crisis, the other thing, most importantly, is not to be a hero and try to say that I know, unless you are somebody who has got some crazy access to information, which is also today irrelevant. I think the second S to my mind is stagger it.
Okay. So
So if
stagger
you have
it
an
as
X
in,
amount of money,
so you're saying SIP would be like a good way at this time.
SIP, STP, whatever, depending on the volume
Right.
of money. So even if I'm a lump sum investor, which I am today, by the way,
Sure.
I will not put all the money on a day just because the market fell 2%.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, Namrata, kal kya hone wala.
जी.
See, we are all now reached a situation where I can happily come on this channel and say I don't know, because I think that's the broad understanding of everybody today, right? I don't know whether Hormuz will open tomorrow or what will happen day after tomorrow. All that I don't know.
Yeah.
So when you don't know, the second option is stagger it. The third one is actually the most difficult. The third S, which is I call the stay. Because you have to, once you've taken that decision, you've invested, you have to stay invested, right?
Yeah.
And this works on the other side also. So I know many people, Namrata, who got the COVID call absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
They were in cash. They saw something brewing in China. They did all the right things. They took out the money. They created a cash buffer, and then they managed to invest it.
Yeah.
But what they didn't realize was that the moment that X amount of money became 1.2x, they immediately redeemed it.
Right.
So they missed out on the 3x opportunity. So it's not only about. So I think the 3S formula really works for a new investor. And for a new investor, really just get into a simple diversified funding.
Okay.
Don't worry about capitalization, about which sector is cheap, which is expensive, what is going to do well. Your job, to my mind, as an investor, unless you are somebody who's a professional investor, in which case I don't think you'll be anywhere watching this channel.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be watching Bloomberg or some other very complicated
Technical.
stuff. But if you're a normal investor like you and me, Namrata, you have to start very importantly, because I think overload of information prevents people from acting.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very easy to invest today because of apps like Groww. You can just click, and you're done. Maybe 20 years back, it was much more complicated. Right? Today, it's much easier. But that will to start is very important. And then the most important thing is obviously stagger. That's the easy one, because everyone is happy to understand that. The SIP culture is very, very deep embedded in our system now. The third one is obviously the most difficult one, which is the stay.
Yeah.
So you have to allow your investments to stay for a period of time to really make it good. It's just that the longer you stay, and if you're in a portfolio of good stocks, I think the returns will be quite incredible.
Yeah. So start, stagger, and stay. That's your mantra for a time like this. Okay. Wonderful. So when we talk about the 3S formula, and like you said, कि stay is the most difficult, which I completely agree with you, क्योंकि ऐसे समय हमें लगता है कि हमें रिएक्ट करना चाहिए. हमें हमेशा लगता है कि जब मार्केट वॉलेटाइल हो रहा है तो लेट मी जस्ट रिएक्ट, एंड इट कुड बी इन एनी फॉर्म, और जनरली हम नेगेटिवली रिएक्ट करते हैं. आई थिंक दैट्स वेयर वी शुड हैव दैट कंट्रोल. सो राघव जी, आप ये बताइए, क्या ये जो क्राइसिस है, इज इट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द अदर क्राइसिस दैट वी हैव सीन फ्रॉम एन इन्वेस्टमेंट परस्पेक्टिव? जैसे ओके, लेट्स टेक 3. लेट्स टेक 2008 ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस, जो ऑब्वियसली बहुत बड़ा था. लेट्स टेक 2020 कोविड, एंड लेट्स टेक नाउ. तो इन 3 को अगर हम कंपेयर करें, तो आप मुझे ये बताइए कि क्या ये क्राइसिस अलग है या फिर सिमिलर है इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्केल, और हमारा इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी क्या अलग होना चाहिए एट अ टाइम लाइक दिस वर्सेस कोविड एंड वर्सेस रिसेशन 2008 GFC?
So it's a superb set of questions, Namrata, because at that time I can only tell you something when you're living through the crisis, and this is something I would advise all your viewers to also do. Just if you take 2 minutes out of your busy schedule and just write how you're feeling when markets go down.
Yeah. जी.
just I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling sad, I don't know what's going to happen, etc.
अपने इमोशंस को एक्सप्रेस करो
it's,
while writing. हाँ.
that's and more importantly आप इनको 2-3 साल के बाद देख लीजिए. In my belief, these are all man-made crises.
जी.
And since it's all man-made, it can be man-solved too.
Yeah. True.
And all the three crises that you mentioned, whether it was 2008, which was the global financial crisis, again very man-made.
Yeah.
At that point of time, I was I was a young kid in the financial system.
जी.
I thought the world is over.
हाँ.
Right, because all the people I was looking up to suddenly all vanished.
हाँ.
Right, you had a huge turmoil. It looked like the American financial system is going to collapse, and in that process, take everybody along with you.
हाँ.
Some of the biggest banks in the world stopped existing. My first employer long time back used to be a Merrill Lynch associate, DSP Merrill Lynch, and Merrill Lynch just vanished, right? Because they were one of the people who got they got acquired by Bank of America, and then what else happened? That whole logo just got out of the system, right?
Right.
AIG was a very, very big company in those days, just vanished. So those points of time, it's very fearful. And then, of course, 2020 was even more fearful because we didn't know whether we are going to live the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
Because nobody understood COVID. Namrata जब चालू हुआ था, किसी को समझ में नहीं आ रहा था ये COVID होता क्या है. And then obviously, media being media will focus on the negative because that's what gets eyeballs, unfortunately. So you're seeing all these pictures about people getting wrapped up and unfortunately suffering in hospitals, people losing their near and dear ones. It was a very frightening period. So again, at 2008-9 was a period where we thought zindagi khatam ho gaya. 2020 we thought again zindagi khatam ho gaya. This is not a zindagi khatam ho gaya situation. That way it is slightly different. But yes, is it going to make things difficult for all of us? Definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading, for example, in Bangalore that Shell has already raised diesel prices by some $25 a liter, right? And they don't get any, I mean, unlike the public sector oil companies, to my mind, that's a real reflection of what the price will be over a period of time.
Very soon, yeah.
But will it kill us? I don't think so. Yeah. Maybe it'll make you feel a little poor. Suddenly you will start seeing budgets getting stretched because everything automatically, when your input cost goes up, sab upar chali jati. But I am an optimist by nature, right? And to be an investor, you have to be an optimist first. Right, it's very difficult to be a pessimistic investor, right? But of course, some of the best investment managers are pessimistic all the time. I've worked with a few of them, but I am an optimist by nature. So my belief is this is a man-made disaster. And again, it'll be a man-solved disaster. So it's something which will happen, and it could happen faster than you think. I think what you should really do at this point of time is not really get too much into the news. Just stay focused on what you are supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Like, I'm so happy that you're doing a chat like this aaj ke din mein. So you're doing your job, I'm doing my job. Baaki log apna kaam kare. Let's try and work a little harder so that we can make that extra 10, 15, 20% more. Which is what will happen over the next 3-4 months. If this thing continues out, maybe the next 1 year, there are all predictions of, say, crude being at 100, etc. But what will happen, let's say, if crude is at 100, आपके interest rate ऊपर जा सकते हैं, आपका input cost ऊपर जा सकती है, आपका travel बढ़ सकता है, आपके खाने पीने के आइटम थोड़े बढ़ सकते हैं, आपके घूमने फिरने का आइटम थोड़ा obviously कम हो सकता है. That's it. I mean, that's about it. And what can you and I do about it? We can't do anything, right? हम क्या कर सकते हैं? We can work a little harder. So Namrata, instead of doing maybe one channel shoot a week, you can maybe do 2. True. I can, instead of doing 4 meetings a day, can do 6 and try and get some more money into our funds. Right? So let's do our jobs better and aim for that rather than try and get involved in the news. So I think every crisis is different, Namrata. This one is unfortunately very personal. The difference between this and even 2020, which is just 6 years back, is that here the information is very real time. Different people are seeing different versions of it. Is there a crisis? Definitely there is. I think we can't ignore that. There is a humanitarian problem, there is a supply chain problem, there is a cost of goods problem, there are lots of problems. But I think like everything else, this will get solved out hopefully sooner than later. Grace of God.
If I were to give you my perspective on the 3 crises, because I have lived through the 3 of them myself, मैंने अपना career 2007 में शुरू किया था. So 2008
wow,
में
perfect timing.
Tell me about it. And I was working for a financial services company at that time in
Wow.
2007. So, what I
Wow.
think is 2008 एक ऐसा टाइम था जब शायद a lot of us saw recession for the first time. हमने इतना market fall शायद अपनी ज़िंदगी में पहली बार देखा था. So we didn't know how to react. और इसीलिए शायद वो pessimism बहुत ज़्यादा था. When we look at 2020, COVID, right? मुझे लगता है कि COVID एक ऐसा समय था जब हम इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के बारे में सोच ही नहीं रहे थे, क्योंकि तब we were thinking about our life. तब हम ये सोच रहे थे कि क्या हम, like you said ना, जिंदा रहेंगे या नहीं वो पता नहीं, right? So in money was not a focus, investing was not a focus at that time. तब हमारा था कि हम survive कर जाएं, जिंदा रह जाएं, और हमें लग रहा था कि COVID बहुत लंबा चलेगा. Now this crisis I feel is actually the best of the three that we've seen, क्योंकि ये हमें पता है is driven by certain factors, और अगर वो factors आज रुक जाते हैं तो शायद हमारा इकोनॉमी बहुत जल्दी रिकवर कर लेगा. It can happen at any time. ये हमें नहीं लगता है कि long term होगा, right? So what I feel is this is actually a great opportunity, क्योंकि इसमें मार्केट तो गिर ही रही है, जो अच्छी बात है क्योंकि आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रहा है, बट एट द सेम टाइम ये उतना लॉन्ग टर्म होगा भी नहीं जितना शायद कोविड और रिसेशन था 2008 जीएफसी था.
करेक्ट.
सो आई थिंक अगर हमें तीन को कंपेयर करना पड़े, मुझे लगता है वी आर स्टिल इन अ मच बेटर सिचुएशन राइट नाउ कंपेयर टू द
I agree. I completely agree. So I mean, from what I am doing personally is exactly following your advice, Namrata.
Yeah.
In fact, मैं एक चीज करूँगा. At the moment I finish this interview, I'm going to go up to my office and invest.
Invest, yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm doing that staggered thing every day. Right?
Okay,
Whenever I get a chance and I see थोड़ा market looks fine, if it's a little fine, I feel fine. I've got some liquidity, I put it. But this is also ये होता भी है कैसा है क्या I do this as I believe in asset allocation a lot. In my life, that's critical. After about 10 years of trying to do all kinds of things, I realized that lots of things are not in your control. Right, and including choosing funds, including getting into sectors, getting out of sectors. I've done that whole drama.
Achha,
then I realized that how much, so that whole drama, you spent 30 years, right, Namrata? So the first 10 years, मुझे लगता है मैं 30 मार खान है. So the first 1 or 2 years, I tried to do stocks. And fortunately, I realized very quickly that I'm a great stock buyer, but I'm not a great stock seller.
Okay.
So, which is very important. And it's very, very difficult for me personally to cut positions at a loss.
Okay. I understand.
It's very difficult. It's emotionally मेरे लिए तो बहुत मुश्किल है.
सबके लिए मुश्किल.
मेरे लिए तो specifically it was crazy. And then fortunately for me, grace of God, I got into mutual funds.
Okay.
And in the mutual fund industry, because of the way the regulator has really taken care of the industry so well, to buy and sell a stock is not very, very easy. There's a lot of permission, reporting, and the senior you go, the more, because I have access to information. So basically the whole, इनका एक thesis है क्या यार आपको आपके information के you cannot use your information to take advantage of that.
Personal portfolio में.
So the easiest thing for me to do, Namrata, is to buy mutual fund. वहाँ पे कुछ नहीं problem है. If when I buy my mutual fund, the only thing is I have to ask for permission, because that's the rule, that because I work in my mutual fund, there is a possibility I may know more than what the public knows. So just to make sure that that is completely beyond, is absolutely compliant, I have to take permission for that. So I've realized that's the best thing to do. And so I realized that यार, but also a point, मैंने एक चीज देखा है क्या, mutual funds sometimes tend to carry you away. You know, every 2-3 months some new thing comes up, and we are very good marketeers, right? हमको लगता है यार ये sector बहुत अच्छा दिखता है. Then I realized the whole thing is basically, and again I had some very good people I used to work with, and somewhere in my mind I realized that asset allocation is very critical. Let's just keep a bucket of equity, a bucket of debt, a bucket of commodities, and then let's try and make sure that we analyze that bucket movement every year, and जहाँ पे ज़्यादा excess हो रहा है, either cut it or stop putting money in that and put money into something else.
Okay.
So frankly, since 2023, I've really not invested big money into equities at all.
Okay. Fair enough.
I have not put. I mean, I'm doing all kinds of funny things. I bought some gold, I bought some silver, I bought some international stocks, I bought all kinds, but I never bought Indian equity aggressively till 23, because मुझे लग रहा था that we have a set of things that we see. You were asking me about cycles. मुझे लग रहा था वो cycle में that Indian market cycle had topped out. That was my feeling, and I went completely wrong, by the way, for 1 year. 23, if you remember, 24 was when market started थोड़ा slow होने लग गया था. 23, 24 was actually a pretty good year for many funds that I took out, which is also problematic.
हाँ.
So again, that stay part is very important.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you may get out early, and you have to live with the consequences, right?
Sure.
It's no choice. So
yeah,
I think then asset allocation was my thing, and then I do it once a year, because if you do it more than that, Amrita, फिर वो tax बहुत आ जाती है.
जी.
You know, once you do that, then it's on. I think you should just automate your investments.
Okay.
And then just do.
So when we talk about staggering the investments ना राघव, तो SIP तो I think हर किसी को समझ में आता ही है. लेकिन let's say कि मेरे पास अभी lump sum investments करने के लिए I have some lump sum money, let's say bonus मिला है या फिर you know just got some cash that I need to deploy, तो हम STP कर सकते हैं, right? So आप ये बताइए कि क्या STP सही होगा, because STP is again you know एक fixed day पे आपका पैसा एक फंड से दूसरे फंड में ट्रांसफर होगा, और do you think वो हमें खुद करना चाहिए? So this comes to the point of timing the market, where you know we were talking कि time in the market तो मुझे लगता है important है ही, वो तो हमेशा रहना ही चाहिए, like stay is your important part, right? लेकिन जब हम टाइमिंग की बात करते हैं तो क्या हमें STP यूज़ करना चाहिए, और डू यू थिंक खुद मार्केट टाइमिंग करके थोड़ा थोड़ा पैसा इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए डिपेंडिंग ऑन टुडे आज क्या चल रहा है मार्केट में उसके हिसाब से?
मुझे आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी इंडिविजुअल, अमृता.
ओके.
सो आपके पास क्या एक्सेस है, आपके पास टाइम है नहीं है, आप उस दिन के डिसीजन आप कर पाओगे कि नहीं. सो इन माय माइंड आई प्रिफर एन STP, क्योंकि आई एम हाफ द टाइम नॉट इन ऑफिस, एंड I get to, it's very easy to say, अरे यार डालना चाहिए था. It's not the most efficient thing, Navita, because like you said, it's on a fixed day, and I don't have control on the price of whatever comes in the end of the day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's lot of history, geography around this. People have said Monday is the best day to invest, Friday is the best day. You know, if you Google and see, Namrata, you will find lot of tamasha, but very difficult to get a consistent framework that if you invest on Wednesdays, you will get the best price. ऐसा कुछ framework नहीं है. I mean, it's just frankly, it's actually being you're killing the data to prove your point. Actually.
Right.
You know, you're beating up the data so much. So I find, at least in my case, STP works for me. But there are days, but I do a combination of both. I have some STPs, and I also do some lump sum also.
Okay.
Because there are days where I feel you know it's good to do, and I'm not a big fan of sector now anymore.
Okay.
I've realized for the same problem that you know. Sector buying is very easy, Namrata. Sector selling is very difficult.
Sure.
So it's not that मेरे पास sector funds नहीं है थोड़े बहुत. I have some very large. I think for example, I believe even today the financial services sector is a boom sector.
Right.
I think if you're expecting India to become a $10 trillion economy, one sector that will do well, to my mind, is financial services.
Okay.
But it's not done well at all. I mean, in the sense, आप देखोगे last 2-3 साल से कुछ पैसे वैसे तो ज़्यादा बने नहीं.
जी.
Which is where that stay conviction comes in. So to my mind, I've also realized that it's better than to just give it to a good solid portfolio, a company which has a good process, has a good set of funds, and let them do what they have to do with it. It's very simple, and live with the fact that they may not do very well. I mean, I have many of my funds are not really top quartile funds. It's very average actually, if you see.
Okay.
I am a bit of a person of the the cook eats here वाला format होते हैं ना. आप restaurant में चले जाओगे, you feel very happy if you see the cook sitting next to you and eating. So I am a believer in that philosophy. So a lot of my portfolio is actually made up of companies or schemes where I have worked in the past.
Right.
But have they all done very well? No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of cleanup I can do. But in the overall scheme of things, I'm not very worried.
Yeah.
Because ठीक है.
So you know what I do, something very simple. मैं सुबह 9:30 बजे देखती हूँ कि मार्केट का क्या चल रहा है, एंड देन आई डोंट चेक इट द होल डे. फिर मैं 2:30 बजे अपना ऐप खोलती हूँ जस्ट टू चेक कि अभी क्या है, एंड आई नो कि जनरली बहुत डिफरेंस होता है मार्केट ओपनिंग वर्सेस मार्केट क्लोजिंग में, एंड देन 2:30 से 3 बजे के बीच में आई डिसाइड, दैट्स माई टाइम टू डिसाइड कि इन्वेस्ट करना है आज या नहीं करना है. एंड आई हैव वेरी सिंपल फॉर्मूला. 1.5 से 2% अगर मार्केट गिरा है तो मेरे 2-3 फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स हैं, मैं उनमें इन्वेस्ट कर देती हूँ. आई जनरली डोंट बाय अ लॉट ऑफ स्टॉक्स, बट आई जस्ट लुक एट दैट हाफ एन आवर विंडो, क्योंकि उस आधे घंटे में इतना कुछ चेंज नहीं होगा. सो आई एम लाइक 2% गिर गया, चलो आज फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड में थोड़ा पैसा डाल देते हैं. सो आई डू वेरी सिंपल थिंग. आई नो इट कुड बी सिली फ्रॉम अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल्स पर्सपेक्टिव, बट ये मैं बहुत सालों से कर रही हूँ, एंड इट हैज डन वंडर्स फॉर माय पोर्टफोलियो. सो टू ईच हिज ओन इज व्हाट आई थिंक.
The most important thing, Namrata, on investing is that you should feel comfortable to go and sleep in the night.
Yeah, true.
अगर आप चीज कर रहे हो जहाँ 12 बजे उठे हुए हो and you're looking at some screen and you're looking at Dow Jones and you're looking at some tweet, then I think you have a big problem in
Big
your life.
problem. Yeah. That I agree.
Unless you're a professional investor, in which case that's your job.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that आपने select किया वो job.
Exactly.
Right?
हाँ.
But if you're a normal investor having a day job which is not full time investing, तो आप I think like you said to everybody his own basically.
Yeah. Okay. So राघव जी बताइए, अगर मान लीजिए मार्केट let's say shift हो रहा है, right? Let's say कि maybe what are some indicators as an investor, simple indicators जिसको मैं देख सकती हूँ to understand कि क्या ये market cycle change हो रही है? Like what would be some high level indicators? And I do believe कि हर फॉर्म ऑफ करेक्शन का रीज़न अलग होता है, तो शायद इंडिकेटर्स अलग हों, बट लेट्स से अभी वो क्या इंडिकेटर्स हो सकते हैं आज के समय में जो हमें लगेगा कि अच्छा मार्केट शिफ्ट हो रही है या साइकिल शिफ्ट हो रही है?
No, so I think the cycle shift is very difficult to predict. You get it very good in hindsight.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
you get anything right in hindsight.
It's in hindsight you get 6x6 clarity. That, but it's very rare that you get that insight at the day of investment. So I think the regular formulas are very simple, and I think the one that we like the most at 361 is the price to book formula.
Okay.
Because there's a price of the market, that's very transparent. There is a book value of the market and of each company. And that book value doesn't change very much. See, P is a great ratio, but earnings is, there's no point looking at past earnings because वो हो चुका है. जो आगे वाला earnings here is all an estimate.
Correct.
And estimates, as you know, can go very wrong.
Yes.
Absolutely. Whereas the book value of a company doesn't fluctuate too much. It also tells you exactly how much a company is using that and how basically आपका profit कैसे बनते. जो आपका company का asset है, you're making it work and that work is giving you revenue which is giving you profit. So that's basic, simple, एक बहुत simple सा explanation है. तो आपका PB ratio जो बोलते हैं, that to my mind is a great ratio to see, and it has worked quite well. I mean, and largely India has been an expensive market. Most of the times our PB is price to book has been between 3 and 4. In fact, 23-24 it actually went beyond 4. It was almost went to about 4.3, 4.4 levels. And this is for the Nifty. So अगर मैं समझो mid cap देखूं या small cap देखूं, तो it had gone much higher there also.
Sure.
So now in the recent correction, what is coming out is that the price to book of the Nifty is now really back in sensible territory.
Okay.
It's closer to 3 right now, right? Number 2, and even the small cap is also corrected significantly, obviously because of what has happened. Mid caps are yet a little elevated.
Right.
So what that is telling me, giving you some signal, is that large caps are looking fine to invest. Small caps are also looking fine, provided you have a longer horizon and you have ability to take volatility, because small caps are inherently more volatility ज़्यादा होता है वहाँ पे.
Correct.
Mid caps, one needs to be careful. It's not that the entire mid cap basket is expensive, but you have to just be a bit careful about it because valuations have not yet fully corrected.
Okay.
Now, can these valuations say subdued? What this will tell you is हाँ आपके entry level valuations ठीक है. If you follow this for a certain period of time, it will also tell you that when things get expensive.
Right.
And that is where, to my mind, वो asset allocation becomes important.
Okay.
Because जब ये formula जब आपको expensive दिखाती है, then there is no point in putting more money at that time, because your incremental money में आपके पैसे नहीं बनने वाले.
True.
In hindsight, if you ask me, most investors will be feeling bad that they invested last 1.5 साल में पैसे डाले.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
But at that point of time, there was this, like you said, there was this whole euphoria or wave, because people are looking at 1 साल पहले return, 3 साल पहले return, and obviously they was looking very good. But actually, if you ask me, the point of, like you started in the beginning, जो आपने पहले बोला था, the point of extreme pessimism is actually the best point to invest.
To invest, yeah. Okay.
But you will never get that point. I mean, if somebody, I remember when the market was in COVID, if I remember, the market went below 10,000, and I remember उस दिन में people were talking of Nifty going to 6,000.
जी.
आपको याद होगा, it didn't go to 6,000, obviously.
Exactly.
It went a little lower and then it went up. But there were people who were saying, नहीं ये तो 100% 6,000 जाने वाला है.
हाँ.
For all the reasons, and they were very logical reasons that ये इतने आदमी नहीं है, फैक्ट्री बंद हो जाएंगे, अर्निंग्स ही नहीं होने वाला है, तो आपका ई नहीं है तो पी क्या होने वाला है. Very logical way of putting it out. But ultimately, you have to understand that you're investing in India. It's a country.
Yeah.
हमारे पास वो पुराने advantages है. We are very digitized. We are the youngest population. We have reasonably good GDP growth. We have a stable government. Maybe 1 year back I would have said stable currency, but now I can't say that क्योंकि currency थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे हो गया है. But I think from now on also currency is looking okay. I mean, अगर आप देखोगे the last 10-15 days it's got much easier. So I think if you take those 4-5 things largely, we are at a great place to put money in.
Okay. Perfect. So, Raghav, let me ask you this question because अभी हमने इतना, we've discussed about the macro factors and multiple ways of understanding कि हम इस crisis के साथ कैसे deal कर सकते हैं. लेकिन अब थोड़ा deep down जाते हैं and let's understand about different categories of funds. And let me start with asset allocation क्योंकि आपने you're a big fan of asset allocation. I've already 2-3 बार इसके बारे में बात कर चुके हैं. So let's talk about asset allocation. और आज के समय में अगर हम asset allocation की बात करते हैं, there's no way we can ignore gold and silver as an asset class, right? क्योंकि I do believe कि देखो मैं तो gold and silver की हमेशा से fan रही हूँ और मैं जब भी investor से बात करती हूँ मैं 15 सालों से लोगों को बोल रही हूँ कि gold और silver में invest करो, right? लेकिन तब कोई नहीं सुनता था. कम 2020, 2021 अब सडनली पूरी दुनिया को जो है गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट करना है. बट आई डू बिलीव इट्स अ ग्रेट फिट इन समवन्स पोर्टफोलियो, राइट? सो पहले आप हमें अपना गोल्ड और सिल्वर ETFs का पर्सपेक्टिव दीजिए कि गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर का हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में क्या रोल होता है, हाउ डज इट हेल्प अस. ऑल्सो अभी इतना फ्लक्चुएट क्यों कर रहा है? देखिए हमेशा से लॉजिक था कि equities and gold have a negative correlation, right? तो equity market नीचे जाएगी, आपका gold ऊपर जाएगा and vice versa. लेकिन अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि ये बिल्कुल एक ही दिशा में चल रहे हैं. मार्केट गिरती है तो आज गोल्ड भी गिर रहा है, मार्केट अच्छा कर रही है तो गोल्ड रेट भी ऊपर जा रहा है. तो ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Why is it that वो कोरिलेशन अभी इस सिनारियो में काम नहीं कर रहा है?
हाँ, okay. So to answer your first question, I am a big fan of gold funds.
Okay.
Not for anything else, Namrata. I am a South Indian, as you can make out. My name is Raghav Iyengar.
Yeah.
So long time back, and I have a little girl. I was not little anymore.
Yeah.
So when she was little, my wife and I said, "नहीं इनके लिए कुछ तो we have to accumulate some gold, which is the normal parental responsibility, right? शादी के लिए चाहिए, etc., etc." The only good thing I was able to do in those days was I was able to convince my wife, Namrata, not to buy physical gold.
Okay.
Because I said, इसके first तो you buy ornaments, you have to maintain them, they get out of fashion. And then you have to melt them. का बहुत बड़ा तमाशा होता है basically. So you don't get the value. You buy 100 rupees worth of stuff and you will actually have to spend another maybe 50-60 bucks just to refurbish it to get it back to whenever it happens. So luckily for me in those days the government had introduced the SGBs.
And sovereign gold bonds.
So for a long period of time I put a lot of money into it and because I believed that I needed to put some money in gold for my daughter and then more importantly as a buffer, like you rightly said, उस time पे very clearly equity was obviously going up and down. Earlier debt used to take some part of that responsibility. Debt has also started behaving volatility. That's also because I think ये सब हो रहा है क्योंकि पैसे बहुत है दुनिया में. COVID के बाद all the central banks, especially in the Western world, and you know some of the numbers, have really blown up their balance sheet. फेडरल रिजर्व का बैलेंस शीट 10-12 ट्रिलियन डॉलर होता था, अभी ऑलमोस्ट 40 ट्रिलियन डॉलर पहुंचने में आ रहा है. सो ये सब पैसे प्रिंट हो गए, पैसे है सिस्टम में, अभी वो कहाँ जाएंगी? दे हैव टू गो टू समथिंग. सो दे हैव आइदर गॉन टू गोल्ड, करेंसी, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, ऑल ओवर द प्लेस. बट फ्रॉम एन इंडिविजुअल इन्वेस्टर पर्सपेक्टिव आई थिंक यू हैव टू हैव some allocation in gold. It's a great defensive asset. And in a world where you're not very sure geopolitically क्या हो रहा है, I mean today we are not fighting a war, you're fighting a geo-economics war.
Exactly, yeah.
So to have one stable part of your portfolio is gold, right? And the second part of your question was why is gold, silver fluctuating? That's I think just because the number of people who have got into that asset class has become very high now.
Okay.
Earlier the Indian consumer would buy it and keep it and forget about it. I mean, let's say I would buy gold and I would forget about it.
खरीदा और रख दिया, हाँ, बहुत साल के लिए.
रख दिया. Now I think people have become smart. Thanks to channels like yours, people are buying a lot of paper gold. And that obviously is going to lead to a lot of subscribers coming. So if you see right now, for example, the gold ETF, and that is now almost 100,000 crore plus in the industry. Right? It's huge. It's huge. I mean, एक time पे तो पूरा mutual fund industry जब मैं चालू किया था मेरे career पे तो mutual fund industry Namrata was not 100,000 crore. Sub scheme मिला के, you know. And today one asset class has become so large. As far as silver is concerned, I think it's an industrial commodity. So it's very correlated to equities.
जी.
So I would put silver as a proxy to equity.
Okay.
So again there I got a bit lucky. I mean the new age businesses all need silver, a lot of it. Whether it's EVs, whether it's batteries, whether it is solar, any of the new stuff that you hear about, chips, semiconductors, all of that requires some amount of silver. So,
जी.
but unfortunately in India you don't have those companies to invest.
Sure.
So एक proxy था मेरे लिए क्या वो company, either you go out and you try and buy some international stocks, which was difficult because you cannot do it through a mutual fund because बहुत सारे mutual funds के limit खत्म हो गए, unfortunately. They're not accepting new money, the international funds.
Right.
So number two, many of those funds are not really putting money into, say, semiconductors or EVs or something. उनके portfolio में है, but a very small part of it. So I found this was a good proxy to buy those.
Sure.
So instead of buying the companies, मैंने सोचा ये silver
खरीद लो, हाँ.
I had absolutely no idea that silver will do so well or gold will do so well. But gold always has this, Namrata. If you see, go back and look at 30-40 year history, it goes very flat for a long period of time. And then it suddenly sort of spikes up. And then again it goes to sleep for a long period of time.
जी.
Now I am not an expert on gold and silver. I don't know what will happen. But I think, like you rightly said in the beginning of your question, हर इन्वेस्टर का 5-10% होना चाहिए.
Okay. तो गोल्ड और सिल्वर का कॉम्बिनेशन
as an investment. Now silver I'm not too sure because I think silver is ideal for investors who have spent some time in the market.
Okay.
Not for a first time investor because silver is, to my mind, if I were to put it, because we are in a investor channel, it's like the small cap of metals.
अच्छा.
It can really get volatile.
Okay.
So अगर आपको volatility समझ में आता है तो great. So one way to put money into silver is also stagger it out.
हाँ.
Gold I would yet be okay to put lump sum, but silver I think you should stagger it out. अगर आपको डालना है तो. But you should be prepared for that extra volatility in silver also. Yes.
Okay. So अभी हमने ये SEBI का एक there's a new rule which says कि जो mutual funds हैं, जो ETFs हैं, they should value gold and silver using India exchange spot price, right? जो पहले LBMA होता था.
Yeah.
Do you think इसका कुछ impact होगा on gold and silver ETFs?
No, I think it's a good move, Namrata. ये तो अच्छी बात है क्योंकि what would happen, आप LBMA के price ले लोगे, उसके ऊपर you will add shipping, you will add transportation, you will add some insurance. You will put some premium. So even though, let's say if I am running an ETF, आप एक ETF चलाते हो, दोनों price तो same होगा, but there could be minor differences on NAV. By the way, what is getting loaded to my NAV and your NAV.
जी.
This actually brings it easier because now these are very traded commodities in the system. So that actually it makes it more transparent because the Indian customer, I'm not taking that gold. Let's say you invested in our 361 gold ETF. I'm not taking that thing and buying London gold with it. I'm buying gold in India, right? So then I should take the India price.
Okay.
So if you ask me, I think it's a great thing to do, and I think it make things a little easier. अभी क्या होगा, when you're transiting, you will see some changes. So there will be some NAV fluctuations जो आपको दिखेंगे. In fact, if you see in the last 1 or 2 months, you will see a lot of fluctuation on ETFs.
जी.
That's also because of the nature of ETFs, unfortunately, Namrata, because it's not very liquid. It's like buying a small cap stock. You get a big order, sometimes the price just goes up and down, and you don't realize it. And you need more market makers around it to make the pricing more efficient. And knowing our regulator, I'm sure they will get onto it very quickly. There's a very clear formula on what to do, what not to do in that. So they made that part of it very easy, very, very compliant. But leaving that aside, I think this whole domestic price is a good thing. There's nothing. I think it's a very, very practical thing to do.
Okay.
If you ask me today.
Okay. So now one more thing about.
Just as a conclusion, मैं खाली एक ही बताऊंगा क्या यार, you should have. Earlier, we used to have this 60-40 principle, right? Namrata, 60% आप equity में डाल दो, 40% debt पे डाल दो. I think now in that 40, now you'll have to put some 5-10% of gold, silver, gold at least. Gold at least in that, and maybe keep the silver as part of your equity 60.
Okay.
So maybe out of your 60, you have some in normal equities, Indian equities. I'm sure lots of people are investing internationally nowadays, so that should come into your equity bucket, और आप silver वो bucket में डाल सकते हो.
Okay.
Because ultimately ये एक industrial commodity है. तो अगर company अच्छी करेगी, industry अच्छी करेगी, तो silver price hopefully should do well. Gold is that way a little more stable, so that should be part of your sort of stable allocation, which used to be debt. if you remember. तो वहाँ पे आप
So, अभी भी डेट तो होना
you can
ही
keep some
चाहिए,
money.
लेकिन यू आर सेइंग कि डेट और गोल्ड में आप स्प्लिट कर सकते हैं थोड़ा.
Yeah, whatever up to an individual. Like
Sure.
I would, and that's very individualistic. It's like, matlab, you could be a different investor, but
Okay.
I think 10% should be there. That's my personal allocation is around 10%.
Okay.
So,
So do you think
I
at a
don't know if
time
that is
like
the mantra
this?
or no, but yeah, sorry.
No, so I'm just saying at a time like this, do you think equity allocation थोड़ा बढ़ा देना चाहिए? जब
Of course,
हमें लग रहा है
if
कि
you have,
करेक्शन हो रहा है
of
तो.
course.
Okay.
See, again, as I said, asset allocation is the fundamental mantra, right? And this is best done with either individually or you do it with a financial partner.
Yeah.
You figure out what your best equity asset or what your overall asset allocation should be, and then monitor it once a year.
Right. Okay.
And obviously, because of what's happened in the last 6-8 weeks, equity prices have come down. Now, let's say if your equity allocation आपके पहले कम थे, this is a good time to top it up.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
So in that sense, so that's how one would look at it. And then of course, if you are a young person, you have slightly more risk-taking ability, you can have higher equity allocation.
Okay.
I'm just saying, don't get carried away by headlines that are a market, like you rightly said, 3,000 point gira hai, so we should take out everything from the savings bank account and dump it. No, I think it's very important that you have a good asset allocation framework around it.
Okay. So जब हम asset allocation की बात करते हैं राघव जी, international investing is one part of it as well, right? और आपने बोला था कि वो आपका equity portion में आ सकता है.
Correct.
लेकिन जब हम international funds की बात करते हैं, do you think हर investor के portfolio में international funds होने चाहिए? And अगर मुझे international funds में invest करना है, तो which international market should top my list?
I think it's international equity should be fundamental to every equity portfolio.
Okay. Okay.
It's important because क्योंकि बहुत सारे companies जैसे financial conglomerates होते हैं, multinational companies होते हैं, वो उनके share मिलते नहीं हैं यहाँ पे.
जी.
Let's say if you want to buy a really good, a really world-class EV company, it's not that India is there.
Right.
We have a few, but really scale size. If you're really looking at, let's say now, आजकल में AI का बहुत बड़ा शौक है.
Yeah.
We don't have a great AI listed company in India, and there are many. Healthcare, there's a lot. Pharmaceuticals, there's a lot. So there are a lot of companies. India is एक अच्छी बात है नम्रता कि India is a very diversified market. Unlike other emerging markets which are either very commodity based or either very tech based, India has a good mix. I mean, financial services भी है, consumption भी है, IT भी है. बहुत सारी चीज़ है. So in that sense, India is a good microcosm of everything. But international investing, you get that advantage of getting into some sectors, companies which you don't have.
जो यहाँ पे अभी नहीं है.
नहीं है. But and as a country, I don't have any country bias, but I think US is 60% of the world market capitalization. आज के हिसाब से. So I think obviously some representation to the US is important. China is also and done the world's largest manufacturing story, so somewhere it is there. But एक ही चीज़ आपको याद रखना चाहिए that you're adding a level of complexity because you're now getting into exchange. When you invest abroad, India में तो आप रुपये में डाल रहे हो, रुपये में निकाल रहे हो. यहाँ पे आप रुपये में डाल रहे हो, it gets converted. So you're taking some forex risk, you're taking some interest rate risk, you're taking some country risk. Right? I think a lot of people bought China in 2020, 2021 thinking ये तो अभी or 1920 when China was really going great guns, and then for आपको पता है वो 3-4 साल तक कुछ हुआ नहीं. Thanks to COVID and other things, Chinese markets went through a massive phase of consolidation, and practically zero or negative return. Now, of course, they started doing well. So again, my basic mantra is again, when you do these things, please give adequate representation, but don't bet the house. बहुत सारे लोग, especially retail लोग क्या करते हैं? They look at something, they look at last 1 year return, and they take out everything and they just try and throw money into it. That's what happened in gold. That's what happened in silver. And then they realize that they possibly come in a little late. And when you're coming in pretty much at the top of the cycle, आपके investment decision may not be very profitable. And then they repeat that again and again and again, and then they lose confidence in the system. उनको लगता है यार ये fraud हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है. Don't go there. तो अगर आपको 100 रुपये डालना है, I think first thing you decide, boss, how much money you want to put to what. And then stick to it. That's okay. And then stick to it. Like that, as I said, that stay is very important.
Okay. So राघव जी, मुझे ना हमेशा लगता है कि जब हमारे लाइफ में बहुत ज़्यादा chaos हो रहा होता है, right? And it could be in any aspect of our life, personal, professional, money wise. तो मुझे लगता है कि आप ना you should just cut off from everything.
Yep.
Take a step back.
Yep.
And then look at it from an
Yep.
external perspective. You look at everything and say कि आप अपने आप को एक थर्ड पर्सन के हिसाब से करिए और फिर देखिए कि दुनिया में आपके अराउंड क्या चल रहा है, एंड ट्राई टू कम विद अ सोल्यूशन. तो आपने एक बार बोला था स्टिलनेस ब्रीड्स क्लैरिटी, एंड फॉर मी I understand what you meant by this, but आप हमारे viewers को समझाइए in the context of what I've said.
In today's world, it's a superpower.
Yeah.
If there's one trait which will differentiate a great investor from an average investor, it is this whole clarity bit.
Right.
Because इसमें क्या होता है? Sometimes when like you said, when you put yourself in a calm position, you're not really reacting to news flow, you're not reacting to headlines, you're not reacting to circumstance. You get much more clarity on what you want to do. So that's very, very critical. We take, हमारा problem क्या है? Because we are used to everything coming in 10 minutes. Life has become a bit of an instant life.
Delayed gratification ही चला गया life से.
नहीं, but investments are something that you have to keep literally for life.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, my first investment, which I yet hold, Namrata, is a stock I bought when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Or 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's been like 30 years plus now, and I'm yet holding it. And my hope is that I pass that on to my kids.
Wonderful. Okay.
And obviously it's done very well because it's really compounded, etc. But if I was in this instant gratification world, I may have sold that stock when it went up 10% and said, okay, tuck karke get out of it. And that's where sometimes this stillness helps a lot.
Yeah.
Especially आपके young viewers के लिए, I really advise this. Just sit in a corner sometimes. Just call it meditation, call it introspection. You don't have to do anything. Just cut yourself off from media. Spend that 20-30 minutes every day. I find आजकल writing makes a lot of clarity.
Yeah.
Because आपके इतने सारे thoughts चल रहे हैं, and when you put it down, it sort of distills it into a nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
And then it's very nice to see what you've written 1 or 2 years later, and then you'll really laugh at yourself actually.
Yeah.
So I'm really telling all my investors today that आज के ज़माने में please take 5 minutes and just write down 2-3 lines of how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And if they can do that after watching this show, I'll be very grateful to them. And then maybe come back and maybe hopefully a year later we can take a few questions and you'll be surprised. Many of them will say, यार ये सब क्यों लिखा था मैंने? It was such a great time to put money. Why was I feeling so scared? Why was I so nervous? But it just takes that stress out of your mind and it just gets it out. नहीं तो क्या होता है? In today's world, it just stays in your mind all the time. फिर वो थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. Then you take the wrong decisions. वो बोलते हैं ना, वो it's that old saying, right, Amrita? वो act in haste, repent in leisure. वो वाला हो जाता है आपके पास.
Yeah, so I completely agree, and I feel especially because we have so much access to information, right? तो मतलब हमारे पास आज के टाइम में एक स्मार्टफोन है हमारे हाथ में, जो एक चलता फिरता कंप्यूटर है, जो हम कभी भी कहीं पे भी किसी भी तरीके से एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. उसकी वजह से इंफॉर्मेशन हमें ज़्यादा मिल रहा है. तो मुझे तो लगता है कि दिन में 10-15 मिनट ऐसे लेने चाहिए कि यू शुड बी कम्प्लीटली अवे फ्रॉम गैजेट्स.
एटलीस्ट
मुझे तो लगता है एटलीस्ट 1 hour, बट आई नो कि फॉर लॉट ऑफ पीपल दैट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. और एक बुक और पेन लीजिए और देन राइट योर थॉट्स, नॉट ऑन कंप्यूटर, नॉट ऑन लैपटॉप, नॉट ऑन फोन. राइट योर थॉट्स फिजिकली विद योर हैंड.
सो नम्रता, मुझे एक हैक है उसमें. सो द सेम थिंग, as you can make out, I'm much older to you. So one of the things that I keep doing is I keep going through these weight cycles, right?
Right.
So I realized that there's no point in trying to get up in the morning, and Bombay Marathon aati hai, so everyone starts running.
Right.
And then eventually people who start running, when they fade off very fast. Because obviously you're not used to running. आप suddenly एक दिन उठ के भागने लगते हो, तो obviously things start hurting. So I think the hack I would suggest to all our viewers is just try and start with maybe 5 minutes of free phone time. Cut that to 10 minutes, take it up to 20, and just sort of brace it out. And then you will be surprised, maybe at the end of a month, that 1 hour will look quite cool actually.
Yeah. So I generally have this 1 hour of workout time for myself in the morning, and तब मैं फ़ोन को टच भी नहीं करती हूँ. And everybody knows कि ये टाइम में नम्रता फ़ोन नहीं उठाने वाली है. But there are times when I'm not able to do it in the morning and I go in the evening. Or evening जब मैं जाती हूँ, I can't keep my phone away because I'm getting calls at that time. And I know I have such a distracted workout कि 10 calls आ जाते हैं उस 1 घंटे में. So I'm like morning से अच्छा है because सबको पता भी है
Mornings
कि
अच्छे. That's true.
that
Mornings
nobody is
good.
going to
Mornings is
trouble
very
me in
good,
the
yes.
morning. Yeah. Okay.
No, but
wonderful.
for every viewer has got his own
Way of
got his own
managing.
timeline, right? I
Yeah.
think my kids, for example, are absolutely evening people.
Yeah.
So this works very well for
Well,
them
for
in the
them,
evening.
yeah, perfect.
Very, very comfortable.
Okay, so now we're going to come to the last part. Okay, the second last part of this segment, क्योंकि last part हमने एक नया segment अपने इस show में add किया है, which is a rapid fire. लेकिन rapid fire से
Oh,
पहले,
nice. Okay.
what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you about your personal investing journey. क्योंकि अभी हमने इतना सब discuss किया ना, आपने bits and pieces में हमें अपने investment journey के बारे में बताया है. अभी मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप एक स्ट्रक्चर तरीके से हमारे व्यूअर्स को ये बताइए कि आपने कहाँ इन्वेस्ट किया है, कैसे इन्वेस्ट किया है, कब इन्वेस्ट करना शुरू किया है. सो टेल अस अबाउट योर इन्वेस्टिंग जर्नी. थोड़ा अपने पोर्टफोलियो के बारे में बताइए राघव जी. विद यू बीइंग सच अ वेटरन इन्वेस्टर योरसेल्फ, आई एम श्योर हमारे व्यूअर्स जानना चाहेंगे कि आपने अपनी वेल्थ कैसे क्रिएट करी है, टू वट एवर एक्सटेंट यू आर एबल टू टेल अस, प्लीज.
Sorry Namrata, I'm a very boring investor.
Okay.
The first 10 years of my life was very exciting. They started, जैसे सब लोग किए थे. I also 1994, I think the Indian capital markets got really exploded.
Yeah.
Something called controller of capital issues was abolished. उसके बाद धन करके बहुत सारे IPO आ गए. Many of those IPOs don't exist anymore, unfortunately.
Yes.
Everyone, it was बहुत similar था जो 23-25 phase चल रहा था इंडिया में, very similar to that. But of course, very bad governance companies.
Yeah.
So I think the good thing, which I'm so happy that we've got a tough regulator, because now at least companies exist.
Yeah.
उस टाइम पे इतने आयराम गायराम लोग थे, and there's a lot of videos about it. People will start, whatever was a new trend, Namrata, people will start something.
Yeah.
तो एक बहुत बड़ा चीज चालू हुआ था shrimp farming उस टाइम पे. So every second day there was a shrimp farming IPO coming out. I don't know where all those farms
आपने बहुत सारे IPOs में डाला था? Did you invest in IPOs at that time?
I put a lot and then I lost a lot of money because obviously there was no research, right, Namrata? उस टाइम पे कुछ था नहीं करने के लिए. So it was all like I met Namrata, she's a great investor. उसने बोला ये डाल दो, मैं डाल दिया. And that's very fluky, right? It's very fluky both ways. For one reason is that you get good deals, but you got out also very quickly.
Right.
Because आपके 10-20-25% बन गए, you said चलो बहुत पैसे बन गए, let's get out. I think I've been in mutual funds now for more than 25 years. And I think that in some sense started my SIP journey.
Okay.
Mutual funds actually introduced me to the whole concept of regular investing, and that's really helped me. There's one superpower in the last 25 years of my life has been SIPs.
Okay.
Because what it does is very clearly puts your investment in the beginning of the month, or kuch nahi.
Yes.
See, most of us, at least when I started work, I mean, money is always in short supply. Whether you're making X or 2X or 4X, आज के ज़माने में तो it's even more difficult.
Yes.
Because there is this buy now, pay later, and all that tamasha is there.
खर्च करने के बहुत options हैं. Yeah.
बहुत options है, and it's also become very social.
Yeah.
It's also so if you're not spending and you're not sort of showing that you're spending, you're not seen to be successful. All that is there. But what it effectively does is it pushes savings and investment right to the end. And many times it just pushes it out. And I unfortunately did that for about 7-8 years of my working life.
Sure.
And so for me, mutual funds and my son were both born around the same time. I got into a job and in a mutual fund job when my son was born. And that's when I really
started SIPs.
Me and my wife, we got a bit disciplined SIPs. And that was great because what it did was it took away a certain percentage of your salary in the beginning of the month. And that built the corpus. I mean, if you ask me today, that was great. And then, of course, I got into a lot of, those days there was a lot of, my first big lump sum investment, you won't believe, was an infrastructure fund of the company I used to work in. And after that, the whole infrastructure theme blew up.
Yeah.
And then, it was a tech fund. I'm sorry, not an infrastructure fund. It was a tech fund in 2000. And 2000, you had the great tech crisis. The whole thing just went out of shape. Those companies are yet there, Namrata. Yes. All those companies that I invested in are yet there today. But obviously, at that time, the valuations were stupid valuations.
Okay.
So obviously, there's no way you could make money.
Can you tell us the names of the funds you invested in? Maybe at that time.
I don't want to go there, but yeah, you will have an idea. You just have a look at it. I'm largely put money to where I work, right? And though that was my first big major loss.
Okay, categories bata dijiye at least. Tell us the categories.
Yeah, that first one was an tech
fund.
So,
okay.
And then after that, I got quite careful. I started putting money into equity funds. So that I was very lucky, Namrata, that was my first and only big major loss.
Okay.
But it was a significant loss because I lost like maybe I got a very big bonus. I remember that year, my highest ever bonus in my life till then. And I went and dumped the whole damn thing into this tech fund, feeling very happy about it. And I put money into another fund which a colleague of mine was saying will become a multi-bagger. And between these two, they basically blew my bonus out by about 80%.
Oh my God. Okay.
And that was like in today's world,
Yeah.
maybe in today's currency, maybe in lakhs. And then after that is when I got a little more disciplined and I said, yaar, ye lump sum band karo. We don't have that luxury of, just losing money.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the other thing my wife and I did was we really controlled expenditure. And I think that's very important because you have to get into the beginning of the month and say, hey, I will spend only so much.
Right.
The third thing which I didn't do, which I should have done in hindsight, may have made me take better career decisions, was to set up an emergency fund.
Right.
So today, anybody asks me, I tell them first to do three things in your life. Unless you come from a very, very affluent background, for a normal investor, please keep 6 months of your expenses in maybe in a savings account. It doesn't even have to be
FD or something.
Something which you, जहाँ पे आपको instant access हो सके.
हाँ.
Number 2, please go and get yourself adequately covered by health insurance personally.
जी.
Don't, आपका company का तो चलता होगा, but even if it's covered by the company, take a top up to whatever it takes because that's very critical. Because these are the two things that can really cripple you financially.
True.
If you have a sudden health emergency, you don't know. And more importantly, take it for your dependents.
Yeah.
So most people क्या करते हैं, they take it for their kids, but they don't take it for their parents. And I think that's been quite stupid because your parents have unfortunately a higher chance of falling sick than your kids. So आप पहले उनके लिए ले लीजिए. Maybe you can forget about the kids.
Yeah.
And then after that, you then decide how much money आपको कितना save करना है. And that money you take and put into a good set of diversified mutual funds. And like a good flexi cap fund, like you said. Pick it up. And I think for me, a good, bad flexi cap or any fund is just how a fund is done over a cycle.
Right.
That's very critical for me. So, at 361, we run some very old funds which have been around for 10, 11 years. So then you can make out very clearly how is the fund done on the way up, how is it done on the way down. And if it's done reasonably okay, you should forget about it.
Okay.
Every fund will go through patches of outperformance, underperformance. So as long as the fund manager is largely there, he is not taking too much risk. उसने जो बोला था, and you need to do, and there's enough things you can do easily. I mean, if you go to आपके channel में चले जाना Groww में, you get enough information on what the portfolio is and everything. So you need to spend that 5 minutes.
Okay.
Once you've done it, then just continuously keep investing, and that's what happened in my life. I kept continuously investing.
Okay.
I didn't do any more theme-based stuff anymore. I mean, that was my lesson.
So now you don't have any thematic sectoral funds in your portfolio.
No, except financial services. No.
Yeah, which you spoke about. Okay.
And I may have lost out on a lot of opportunity. Pharma funds had just started coming into play. I'm sure if I had put some money into pharma, I would have done very well.
Yeah.
IT is where it is today.
No, but I do believe
that
timing is very important. Na? Thematic funds mein timing बहुत important.
I think for me, as I said in the beginning, I'm not a great. I can't take out money at a loss. So that was my biggest problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see that first my tech fund investment going down, and I kept praying that ये अभी आ जाएगा, and then finally I took it out at a 60-70% loss, which was very bad for me.
Okay. So if at a high level,
and then after that, I think in my early 40s, I started getting into asset allocation in a big way because I realized at one point of time I'd become too equity skewed.
Okay.
So my whole investment was only equity and provident fund of the company. That's it, nothing else.
Okay.
There was no other debt, there was no gold, there was no international, कुछ नहीं था. And then slowly I started plugging these pieces. आजकल मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, because I have some liquidity, I'm putting some more, and 361 runs some very fantastic private equity and private credit businesses.
Right.
So I'm actually been putting some of my money there.
Okay.
And of course, the recent ones have been for me have been this whole SIFs basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, so SIFs are great from I'm now a investor for the last 20-25 years. Okay. I've got a certain corpus. They are an innovative way. They sort of bridge the gap between mutual fund and PMS.
PMS, yeah.
So आपके बहुत सारे flexibility मिल जाते हैं. So SIF is, to put it in a simple line, you can make money also potentially when the market is going down.
Right.
जो आप म्यूचुअल फंड में कर नहीं सकते. I mean, mutual fund is a great long only product. So तो मैं जो कर रहा हूँ, I think today core of my portfolio sits in mutual funds.
Right.
It's overlaid. I mean mutual funds. I mean including gold, debt, silver, सब कुछ मिला के.
So gold,
all
debt,
that.
silver,
It's all in mutual
international,
fund.
and other
Well,
equity
international,
funds.
all that sits in mutual funds, and as
Okay.
mutual fund as an umbrella, and then I have SIFs which have been progressively investing over the last couple of, especially in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
And then of course I have wherever I see great private equity or private credit opportunity or private real assets, which is REITs, InvITs, that I do through AIFs basically. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So अगर मान लीजिए
So
आपके
it's a बहुत ज़्यादा mix है.
Okay.
But the core of this is the way I look at it. If you look at the earth, the core of the earth is for me is mutual funds. उसके ऊपर I have SIFs and I have some part of international. And then of course now I'm trying to build some additional layers by putting private companies and I mean private equity and private credit and
So
private assets.
if you were to just look at your portfolio and say इतना percentage मेरा equity में, इतना debt में, इतना gold में, will you be able to break it up? कितना होगा?
I don't know, depending on mark to market, I haven't seen it recently.
Yeah, but at a high level,
I normally
at
do
least.
that. I would be, maybe 50, 30, 10, maybe 50, 30, say 7.5, oh sorry, 10, 5, 5.
Okay.
So 50% equity, Indian equities, Indian and little bit of global, but yeah, majority Indian equities. Say 45 and 5. I would put it that way. 45 Indian, 5 domestic,
5 global,
5 international. About 25% debt.
Okay.
Which is again mostly mutual funds and my public provident fund, whatever balance is there.
Right.
25, and then I would put another about 10% in commodities, which is basically gold,
silver. Okay.
And the remaining would be in private equity and private credit and my private real assets funds.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Okay. Wonderful. So I think now that we've asked you so many questions, as a last part of my conversation, तो ये हम इसी एपिसोड से इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, which is the rapid fire questions. तो इसमें मैं आपको जो है I'll ask you a few questions. आप उनका जल्दी जवाब दीजिए. I'll give you the options as well. Okay. So let's start.
Okay.
The first one is bull market, buy or hold?
Hold.
Okay. Bear market, buy or hold?
Buy.
Okay. Bull market, SIP or lump sum?
SIP.
Okay. Bear market, SIP or lump sum?
Actually, both.
Okay. Maybe STP.
When I mean lump sum, I mean STP also.
STP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do both. Yeah.
Okay. Rebalancing, ये disciplined होना चाहिए या optional होना चाहिए?
Absolutely disciplined.
Okay. Time in the market or timing the market? I think I know your answer.
Time. For me, it's clear time.
Okay.
It's clear time.
Okay. Bull markets में debt funds होने चाहिए, नहीं होने चाहिए?
Debt funds all year round.
Okay.
All markets you need debt.
Okay. Bear market में gold खरीदना चाहिए, नहीं खरीदना चाहिए?
Again, all markets you need gold.
Okay. Multi-asset allocation funds, bull market में या bear market में better time?
Anytime. Whenever you're confused, invest in multi-asset. It's a very simple formula.
Okay.
Right? You don't know. So 24, we didn't know whether we were in a bull market or heading to a bear market. कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा था, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
25, not 24. Let's say 25.
Yeah.
Especially since all the global events shifted so much. 24, 25. So I think for me, my go-to product there, Amrita, was really multi-asset. Yeah.
Okay.
And when I mean multi-asset, I mean real multi-asset.
Right.
There are many multi-asset funds which are 70-75% equity and some 5-10% gold and 5-10%, which has nothing but, if you ask me, equity plus thoda sprinkling, aapka, like a chole bhature type, just the top level is. But I think for me, a multi-asset is real multi-asset. I mean, it should have meaningful exposure to other asset classes like gold and debt.
जी.
So I think that's the important one.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Raghav ji. I think it was a great conversation. हमने आपको बहुत समय ले लिया, but thank you so much. It was wonderful. We'll hopefully get you back again pretty soon with a different topic. Hopefully at a different time when when
I love
we
it,
are
No, these I love times like this because मैं एक ही चीज बोलना चाहता हूँ, ये extreme pessimism gives you extreme performance also.
Yeah.
Opportunity. So it is my old mango example. So if people can remember that, and when you're very pessimistic, please write down stuff and like you said, Namrata, just get off your phone for 1 hour. I think that itself will give you a lot of clarity.
Will give you a lot of clarity. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Raghav, and take care of yourself. And we hope our viewers loved the episode as much as we loved having this conversation. So thank you.
Thanks you and thanks to Groww. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow, that was such a wonderful conversation with Mr. Raghav. हमने उनके साथ बहुत सारे points discuss किए अराउंड ऐसे समय में जब markets correct हो रही होती हैं हमारा investment strategy क्या होना चाहिए. तो जल्दी से जो भी हमने points discuss किए मैं आपके लिए summarize कर देती हूँ. तो सबसे पहले हमने Mr. Raghav से ये discuss किया कि जो सबसे ज़्यादा wealth making opportunities आती हैं या wealth building opportunities आती हैं that comes at times of pessimism. तो Mr. Raghav says कि that is true. आपको जो सबसे ज़्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलेंगी वो तभी मिलेंगी जब मार्केट्स करेक्ट हो रही होती हैं, जब बहुत सारा डर होता है मार्केट में. ही सेज कि अभी जब हम यूएस ईरान वॉर की बात कर रहे हैं तो तब इक्विटी मार्केट्स में काफ़ी करेक्शन हुआ है और इसीलिए इट्स अ ग्रेट अपॉर्चुनिटी टू इन्वेस्ट, क्योंकि अभी ये समझिए कि एक सेल चल रही है एंड इट्स अ ग्रेट टाइम टू इन्वेस्ट. तो अभी ये इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए इक्विटीज़ में अच्छा समय है और इक्विटीज़ में यू शुड स्टे इन्वेस्टेड एट अ टाइम लाइक दिस. ही ऑल्सो सेज कि एक साल बाद you'll probably be very happy कि आपने जो है equities में you continue to stay invested, क्योंकि एक साल बाद समय बदलेगा and then you will see your returns. फिर हमने मिस्टर राघव के साथ ये डिस्कस किया कि at a time like this जब geopolitical crisis चल रहा है हमारा investment strategy क्या होना चाहिए for someone who's just starting his or her investing journey. तो मिस्टर राघव सेज कि अगर आप इस समय में इन्वेस्ट करना शुरू करें तो फर्स्ट इज ऑफ कोर्स यू स्टार्ट इन्वेस्टिंग, राइट. तो आप कोई भी इक्विटी फंड्स में, स्पेशली गुड डाइवर्सिफाइड इक्विटी फंड में अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट शुरू करिए. ही सेज कि सारा पैसा एक साथ नहीं डालना चाहिए, तो आइडियली SIPs करिए, अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स को स्टैगर करिए. अगर आपके पास लमसम भी है तो उसको भी एक साथ इन्वेस्ट मत करिए, उसको भी स्टैगर करिए, मे बी थ्रू एन STP, सिस्टमैटिक ट्रांसफर प्लान. ही सेज कि जो तीसरी चीज़ है वो है स्टेइंग इन्वेस्टेड. तो इक्विटीज़ में लंबे समय तक रहना बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो ही फॉलोज द मंत्रा ऑफ 3 S's विच इज स्टार्ट, स्टैगर एंड स्टे. फिर हमने मिस्टर राघव के साथ ये डिस्कस किया कि हमें STP करना चाहिए या हमें मार्केट को टाइम करना चाहिए. मिस्टर राघव सेज कि टाइमिंग इज नॉट इजी अनलेस आप उस प्रोफेशन में हैं. तो अगर इन्वेस्टिंग आपका एक प्रोफेशन है जहाँ पे आप पूरे दिन इसी पे फोकस कर रहे हैं, देन इट्स फाइन, यू कैन टाइम द मार्केट. लेकिन मोस्ट ऑफ अस, राइट, हमारा ये फुल टाइम प्रोफेशन नहीं है और इसीलिए आप STP कर सकते हैं जहाँ पे आपको मार्केट टाइमिंग करने की जरूरत नहीं है. सो ही सेज एनीथिंग दैट गिव्स यू अ गुड स्लीप एट नाइट एंड STPs के थ्रू आपको क्योंकि मार्केट टाइमिंग करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, इट्स अ गुड ऑप्शन फॉर यू. फिर हमने मिस्टर राघव के साथ ये डिस्कस किया कि ऐसे क्या इंडिकेटर्स हो सकते हैं जिससे हमें ये पता चल सकता है कि अभी मार्केट साइकिल्स शिफ्ट हो रही हैं या शिफ्ट नहीं हो रही हैं. तो मिस्टर राघव सेज कि इट्स अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट थिंग टू एनालाइज. ये बहुत मुश्किल होता है ये देखना कि कब मार्केट साइकिल्स चेंज होंगी या नहीं होंगी. लेकिन एक जो इंडिकेटर आप देख सकते हैं दैट इज प्राइस टू बुक वैल्यू रेशियो. प्राइस टू बुक वैल्यू रेशियो एक बहुत अच्छा इंडिकेटर होता है टू अंडरस्टैंड कि क्या मार्केट साइकिल्स शिफ्ट कर रही हैं. ओवर एंड अबव दैट ही सेज कि अगर हम निफ्टी 50 का प्राइस टू बुक वैल्यू रेशियो देखें तो वो 3 और 4 के बीच में रहता है और अभी जो है वो 3 के आसपास चल रहा है. He also says when we look at valuations, अभी जो है स्मॉल कैप्स में अच्छा करेक्शन हुआ है, लेकिन मिड कैप्स जो है अभी पूरे तरीके से करेक्ट नहीं हुए हैं एंड विच इज़ वाई असेट एलोकेशन पे हर इन्वेस्टर को फोकस करना चाहिए टू गेट द बेस्ट ऑफ ऑल वर्ल्ड्स. फिर हमने मिस्टर राघव के साथ थोड़ा गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर ETFs के बारे में डिस्कस किया और ये इन्वेस्टमेंट्स एक इन्वेस्टर के पोर्टफोलियो में कैसे फिट कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज वी ऑब्वियसली स्पोक अबाउट असेट एलोकेशन और गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर एक असेट एलोकेशन के लिए बहुत अच्छा टूल माना जाता है. सो मिस्टर राघव सेज कि ही इज़ अ बिग फैन ऑफ गोल्ड. तो उनके इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में उनके पोर्टफोलियो में गोल्ड फंड्स हैं एंड ही सेज कि हर इन्वेस्टर के पोर्टफोलियो में 5 से 10% तक गोल्ड होना चाहिए क्योंकि एक डिफेंसिव असेट है. ही सेज कि आज के समय में गोल्ड का रेट इसलिए बढ़ रहा है बिकॉज गोल्ड की डिमांड बढ़ गई है. बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर्स अब गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं थ्रू गोल्ड ETFs. सो विच इज़ वन ऑफ द बिग रीजंस और द ड्राइविंग फैक्टर फॉर गोल्ड रेट्स. नाउ ही सेज कि जब हम सिल्वर की बात करते हैं ना, अब सिल्वर का रेट जो बढ़ता है या घटता है वो इंडस्ट्रियल डिमांड के बेसिस पे होता है बिकॉज देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल डिपेंडेंसी ऑन सिल्वर. सो सिल्वर, थिंक ऑफ सिल्वर एज अ प्रॉक्सी टू इक्विटी. अब अगर आपको सिल्वर में इन्वेस्ट करना है, ही सेज कि सिल्वर थोड़ा ज़्यादा रिस्की होता है. तो आपको जो है थिंक ऑफ इन्वेस्टिंग इन सिल्वर अगर आप मार्केट्स में ऑलरेडी काफ़ी समय से इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं. थिंक ऑफ सिल्वर एज अ स्मॉल कैप्स फॉर मेटल्स. तो ही सेज कि आप गोल्ड में जो है लमसम इन्वेस्टमेंट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन सिल्वर में आपको अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टैगर करनी चाहिए थ्रू SIPs। फिर हमने मिस्टर राघव के साथ इंटरनेशनल इन्वेस्टिंग की बात करी एंड आर इंटरनेशनल फंड्स इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड मिस्टर राघव सेज कि एक इन्वेस्टर के पोर्टफोलियो में इंटरनेशनल फंड्स काफ़ी ज़रूरी होते हैं क्योंकि ये आपको ऐसी कंपनीज को एक्सेस करने की अपॉर्चुनिटी देते हैं, चाहे वो AI स्पेस में हो, फार्मा स्पेस में हो या मैनी अदर थीम्स जो शायद अभी इंडिया में अवेलेबल नहीं है। सो यू गेट एक्सेस टू अ होल लॉट ऑफ थीम्स एंड कंपनीज जो आप इंडिया में एक्सेस उनको नहीं कर सकते हैं। बट ही सेज कि अगर आपको इंटरनेशनल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करना है तो आप US बेस्ड फंड्स देख सकते हैं, आप चाइना बेस्ड फंड्स भी देख सकते हैं। बट ही सेज कि एज एन इन्वेस्टर यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जो इंटरनेशनल फंड्स होते हैं दे एड अनदर लेवल ऑफ कम्प्लेक्सिटी टू आवर पोर्टफोलियो, सो यू नीड टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर इट। बट ही सेज कि स्मॉल एलोकेशन इंटरनेशनल फंड्स में अच्छा रहता है क्योंकि आपको अच्छा एक्सपोजर देता है टू इंटरनेशनल मार्केट्स। फिर हमने मिस्टर राघव के साथ उनकी इन्वेस्टमेंट जर्नी के बारे में डिस्कस किया एंड हाउ ही मैनेजेस हिज पोर्टफोलियो। मिस्टर राघव सेज कि उन्होंने बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स हमें बताए, सो आई क्विकली ब्रीफ देम आउट फॉर यू। तो उन्होंने बोला कि जब उन्होंने अपना करियर शुरू किया था तब वो काफ़ी थीम बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग करते थे, तो जो भी करंट थीम है उसमें इन्वेस्ट कर देते थे। फॉर एग्जांपल अर्ली 2000s में उन्होंने बहुत सारा पैसा टेक्नोलॉजी फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट किया और काफ़ी पैसा खोया या गवाया बिकॉज ऑफ दैट इन्वेस्टमेंट। सो ही लर्न दैट लेसन। जब से वो म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री में आए हैं विच इज़ इन द लास्ट 25 ईयर्स, उनको SIPs के का पावर पता चला है। ही बिलीव्स दैट SIP इज़ अ वेरी पावरफुल टूल एंड वो पिछले 25 साल से SIPs कर रहे हैं विच हैज़ वर्क वंडर्स फॉर हिम। ही ऑल्सो बिलीव्स वेरी स्ट्रांगली इन असेट एलोकेशन। वो कहते हैं कि असेट एलोकेशन एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टूल है जो हर इन्वेस्टर को यूज़ करना चाहिए टू बेटर देयर पोर्टफोलियोज। फिर मिस्टर राघव सेज कि हर इन्वेस्टर के पास एमरजेंसी फंड ज़रूर होना चाहिए। ये एक गलती है जो उन्होंने इनिशियल ईयर्स ऑफ हिज इन्वेस्टिंग उन्होंने एमरजेंसी फंड नहीं रखा, तो 6 months ऑफ योर एक्सपेंसेस आप एक एमरजेंसी फंड में डाल सकते हैं। ही ऑल्सो सेज कि हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस होना बहुत ज़रूरी है विच शुड बी अ पर्सनल हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस ओवर एंड अबव योर कॉर्पोरेट इंश्योरेंस, क्योंकि ही बिलीव्स कि ये दो जो एस्पेक्ट्स होते हैं, अगर आपके पास एमरजेंसी फंड नहीं है और हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं है, सफिशिएंट हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं है, तो ये आपके फाइनेंशियल्स को बहुत बड़े तरीके से क्रिपल कर सकता है। सो मिस्टर राघव जनरली जो है सेक्टरल या थीमेटिक फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए अभी अवॉइड करते हैं। ही सेज कि डाइवर्सिफाई करो अपना पोर्टफोलियो और इक्विटी फंड्स में भी डाइवर्सिफाइड फंड्स में डालिए लाइक्स ऑफ फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड। मिस्टर राघव सेज कि उनका इनिशियल इन्वेस्टमेंट्स काफी इक्विटी फंड्स में होता था, बल्कि ऑलमोस्ट एवरीथिंग वाज इन इक्विटी फंड्स एक्सेप्ट फॉर हिज प्रोविडेंट फंड। पिछले कुछ सालों से उन्होंने अपने पोर्टफोलियो को डाइवर्सिफाई करना शुरू किया अक्रॉस डिफरेंट एसेट क्लासेस। तो अब उनका पोर्टफोलियो में इक्विटी है, डेट है, गोल्ड है, इंटरनेशनल फंड्स हैं, SIFs हैं, एंड ही बिलीव्स कि जो SIFs होते हैं वो दे गिव अ बैलेंस टू हिज पोर्टफोलियो। तो अगर हम मिस्टर राघव का पोर्टफोलियो देखें, 45% इज इन डोमेस्टिक इक्विटी, 5% इंटरनेशनल इन्वेस्टिंग, इंटरनेशनल फंड्स। उनका करीब 25% डेट फंड्स में है विच इज़ डेट फंड्स प्लस प्रोविडेंट फंड। करीब 10% गोल्ड में है एंड द रिमेनिंग इज इन प्राइवेट इक्विटी एंड प्राइवेट क्रेडिट। सो दैट्स pretty much how his portfolio looks like. अंत में हमने एक नया सेगमेंट इस एपिसोड में लॉन्च किया है विच इज़ अ रैपिड फायर सेगमेंट। बहुत मज़ा किया। Please do watch that segment and understand Mr. Raghav's perspective on various aspects. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Please do like this video, share it with everyone. Please do subscribe to the Groww Mutual Fund channel, which is called Mutual Funds with Groww. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.